So creating a logo can be really daunting at times, right? And it's sometimes we are lost in the we like to say conundrum of, okay, what direction should I go, right? And many logo designers that are beginners usually end up in the state where they lack clarity and they cannot seem to get around designing a logo, right? Today I'm going to be sharing with you how I came up with a logo for a fashion brand, Christian fashion brand called Ark Clothing, and it's going to basically be a brief tutorial on some of the steps I take in my logo design process. Okay, so one of the first things I do when I'm trying to work on a logo for a client, say a client contacted me, is after we maybe have a brief discussion about, okay, what industry do they want to design the logo for and what exactly do they want to use the logo for, I will send them a questionnaire, right? And once they fill that questionnaire, I begin to gather certain insights. Now, the questionnaire is not all you need. Sometimes you need to get on a call with the client, right? A discovery call where you ask certain relevant questions and begin to pick their brains on what they envision for their brand, to begin to draw out certain keywords that they use to describe their brand and certain keywords that they use to describe what they want to see in their logo. So after that, you get off the call, you look at the questionnaire a bit, and then you decide what direction, right? So how you do that is after gathering some insight from the client, you make some research, right? So you make some research, you go into details on similar images that the client suggested, or similar logos that the client suggested, and you look through that database. So you begin to gather similar elements, all right, that you want, that are in the direction of the logo that you're trying to create, right? Maybe in the same industry preferably. And then from there you begin to sketch, right, or ideate. And then after ideating, you begin to create certain elements for the brand. Let's get right into creating this logo. Okay, so there's really something important to consider while creating a logo that perfectly depicts what the client wants, right? And since this is a Christian fashion clothing brand, we have to really understand certain things that make up the brand. And one of the things to really consider is specifically what your target audience is, and why they're creating it for that particular target audience. So from the idea that is a Christian brand, and from what the clients has filled out in the questionnaire, you have to understand that there are certain keywords that you can use to generate an idea. But today I'm just going to show you how to construct simple logos without having to do too much technical stuff. So I'll be using basic shapes, the rectangle tool and the ellipse tool. So the first thing you want to do is you import your sketch, and then you reduce the opacity by, say, 60%, and then you begin to draw your shapes, preferably using an outline mode. So it's important to have and achieve visual balance, and that means certain things have to be the same size. It does not have to be the same size throughout, but at some point there needs to be equal measurements for visual balance, hierarchy, and just ease of usability. So we'll be really diving deep into using some of the tools here. So what you need to do is follow imitate the sketch by creating similar shapes to what you have on your sketch. And then one way you can do that is by either using the pen tool or using the rectangle tool, right? So here I am basically duplicating squares, and one way to duplicate is to hold down alternate on your keyboard and then right click and drag whatever object is selected, and then it duplicates. So I made sure I use consistent shapes and just rotated them accordingly to fit in with my sketch, right? And then after you've successfully created your shape, you use the shape builder tool and make sure joints are overlapping, or at least above one another, if you don't do that, the shape builder tool wouldn't work. So do that, and then draw. You don't need to hold down any button, just run the shape builder tool across the shape or inside the shape. Make sure it's intentional. Make sure you're intentional about where the shape builder tool will flow through, because you are trying to form the shape of the logo, right? And then you select your appropriate font to write. I selected the appropriate font to write the clothing, right, which is trap font, and it's the brand's font. Then I created, to enunciate the cross fill, I drew the circle and the line on that, just to give it, to bring the word to life. So this is a wordmark logo, and it's meant to represent a fashion brand, so it can be printed on any surface and still remain visible. So what I'm doing right now is to perfectly measure the lines and the spacing in between each shape, and doing this ensures balance, and then it also shows professionalism. And make sure nothing is out of proportion, and then I think by doing that you're good to go. So now we're going to create the secondary logo. The secondary logo is also going to be us duplicating stuff right from the logo, and it's take the idea of the A and the R, that space that lies between, that perfectly could represent the brand on its own. So it's a sub logo mark. The main logo mark is the Ark Clothing, but this one is the icon. It's going to serve as the icon, where it represents the cross, it represents the star, and then it also represents the shape of the original logo. Right, so the concept for this logo is the cross, which signifies Jesus' death, the star, which signifies Jesus' birth, since the brand wants to be a brand that is known for wearing the gospel. This perfectly depicts it in a simple but in-depth manner, as it is not just appealing to both the Christian audience but also the youth of the church, right? And then it possesses an arc-like structure if you want to look at it from the top, and the idea of the arc is convey, right, to carry things, and so therefore it perfectly depicts the brand description. So keep in mind, logos have to be simple, memorable, but also have a meaning or tell a story. And so guys, that's how you create a logo for a clothing brand. Very simple process that you can mimic and you can follow. And yeah, I hope you learned something. See you later. Cheers.